Hello, hello, hello. Hey, this is Warren Redlick. I am here. Sad note today. I am going to be talking about my mom. My mom passed away yesterday. This is my mom in her assisted living facility. She was there for maybe a year. She'd been in another facility before. My mother had Alzheimer's, and I got really excited about Neuralink. I hope everybody can hear me. I got really excited about Neuralink because of my mother having Alzheimer's, and actually before my mother had Alzheimer's, her mother had Alzheimer's. So I was very, very aware of the risks that Alzheimer's poses to us. Look, my grandmother had it, my mother had it. There's a good chance in 20, 25 years I'm going to get it. So, and not just about me, but there's so many other people in the world that end up suffering with Alzheimer's and dementia, and I have hopes that that Neuralink will help. And I want to be clear, I don't think it's likely that Alzheimer's is going to make that Neuralink is going to make a huge difference for Alzheimer's and dementia right away. I'm hopeful that in 20 years I'm going to talk about why I think there's some hope there. But I just wanted to really quick, this is about, for those who don't know, my brother died in June. So a month and a half ago, my brother died at the age of 60. And then I just lost my mother. Now, my brother's loss is much, much harder because it was unexpected. My brother was 60 years old, and you can see he wasn't in any particularly bad health, probably in better shape than me. And whether it was COVID or heart disease or who knows. I think it was heart disease. That's a long conversation we don't need to have. So losing my brother was much harder. My mother was already gone. My mother has had Alzheimer's for about 5 years, and at the beginnings it wasn't so bad. It got worse, it got worse, it got worse. My goal in managing my mother's care was to keep her happy and comfortable as long as possible, and I am very happy to say that I succeeded in keeping my mother happy and comfortable almost the entire time. I can't say there weren't bad moments. There's always going to be bad moments, but for the vast majority of the 5 years or so I was taking care of her, I kept her happy and comfortable, and I'm really pleased with that. And I think that was the right goal for her, and I think it worked out well. And my favorite recent moment is 10 days ago. I took my mom to the dentist. And on the way back, I asked her if she wanted to to explain this is the second fastest production car in the world. I suppose arguably there's a Ferrari that's number 2 and it's number 3, but it's, a ridiculously fast car. Do you want to feel it? Now, before I get there, you can see at the bottom what happened. But I've taken friends for drives in the Plaid Model X and done the hard acceleration run, 0 to 75 in 3 seconds or something like that. One of my friends said it was an act of violence. I took father, mother, and son on a drive 0 to 75 in 3 seconds and did it once. They said, "You guys want to do it again?" And they were all like, "No, no, 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 no." Well, I took mom for a Plaid acceleration run, and mom had a huge smile. She loved it. So, I was able to give her some moments of joy, some happiness. One of the nice things about Alzheimer's is they don't remember the bad moments. My brother died last month. I didn't bother telling her. She didn't remember who he was anyway. She had forgotten my father. She had forgotten my oldest brother who passed away many years ago. So the upside of Alzheimer's is the pain of life is less present for people who don't remember all the losses that they've had. So just wanted to mention really quick, I've really appreciated the support I've gotten from people on YouTube, people on Twitter, people on Instagram. There's what I would call a Tesla community or a Tesla, SpaceX, etc. community. And so I had hundreds of comments on my Twitter, on my tweet about this. I did 2 tweets about this, and in the past with my brother's passing, and on YouTube I posted about it on Instagram. A lot of response, a lot of people very thoughtful, very kind. I would just say, by the way, a couple people mentioned that it's hard to know what to say, and I agree. Like, I don't know. I think it's really hard to come up with the right words, and there's not always something good to say. It's just the fact that you said something. I think when you encounter somebody who's suffered a loss, and I just wanted to mention, in that same sense of the community supporting people, this is Eli Burton. He lost both his parents in the last year. Eli, you can see Eli got 1,600 likes on his tweet, 749 comments. Eli's just a really, really nice guy. He's just a wonderful guy. And it was nice to see, with all the suffering that he went through, which I think what he went through is harder than what I'm going through, so much support from him. And this comment at the bottom, this is harsh reality. The day is going to come when you'll never get to talk. Sorry. The day is going to come that you will never get to talk to your parent again. Can't believe that day is today. So that's a harsh reality when you lose someone. You never get to talk to them again. Sorry. I'm trying to be upbeat. And thankful to the community for the support. A lot of people reached out to me so many different ways, and I really appreciate that. And, my mom and my brother were always very supportive. I think there's a lot of people who don't have family support. There's a lot of people who don't have friends. Like, people are expressing well wishes, and I appreciate it and all. My life is really good. I had great parents. I had great brothers. One of them died young, but great brothers, great family. My uncle called me today. My aunt and uncle called me today. I have friends. I have so many different friends in so many different ways. Old friends, new friends. I did a tweet the other day because I spent a couple nights with an old friend, guy I started drinking beer with 40 years ago. Sorry, I got myself. My buddy Don and his wife Val, I stayed with them a couple nights in Atlanta. And I was just thinking, it's a great feeling to spend time with old friends. And then the other side of it is what I found in the Tesla community is it's great making new friends. And I just know there are people who really feel very alone. Their parents weren't that great to them. They didn't have great relationship with their family. There's actually somebody I've been talking to recently who doesn't have a great relationship with the family, doesn't have a lot of friends. And I just have so many friends. And I feel, I'm going through a bad moment, but I know that I'm very lucky. And I know there's a lot of people who aren't this lucky. And, I really appreciate the support of the kind words, everything. There's, like Alexandra's on the call, and she's a new friend, and really appreciate her. We met her in person in California. Jim Manley, I've talked to a bit. Mark Plott's been supportive as a moderator forever on my live streams. So many different people, so many different ways. I'm staying in a house with a couple of friends who live out near Giga, Texas, in Austin. Their dogs are on the floor. They were concerned the dogs would interrupt the live stream. So far, they're good. Just very lucky that there's so many friends. The Clubhouse app. There's this Tesla Universe and Tesla Chit Chat groups, and so many people there, so supportive. I actually haven't gone on Clubhouse since my mom died. Really on this trip, I haven't been on Clubhouse as much, but just a great community there. Some people are coming out to Austin. I'm hoping I can make it back. I'm hoping my mother gets buried by the 3rd and I can get back to Austin by the 4th to be with all the people who are going to be here on the 4th. On the 5th, I mean. Sorry. So anyway, I feel like there are people out there who don't have family that are supportive, who don't have friends, and it's, to some extent people drive friends away, people drive family away, but to the extent that I encounter people who seem lonely, and one of the nice things for me is I have time and I'm able to give time. I don't really feel like it's giving time. I spend time with friends who don't have that many people, who don't have that much support. And that's, if I had one piece of I don't know if it's advice, one suggestion for you is when you see people that and they may not be perfect and they may have character flaws and they may have things that push people away, if you can find it in your heart to pay a little more attention to those people who have some redeeming value, and let them know you care about them, and listen to them and listen to what they're going through. That's how we add value. That's how we make life better for each other. And, my mom and my brother always listened to me. My father always listened to me. I have so many friends who listen to my wacky ideas. So many people have suffered through Warren talking about the pod car, Warren talking about Tesla, Warren talking about SpaceX, and so on. regular real world friends who aren't particularly into it, and they still put up with my, nutty talk. And I think it's really important that we do that. I think it's important that we listen to others, and there's a lot of people out there who feel alone. And if you can find somebody that that, maybe I can give that person a little extra time, that's one thing I would just say you can do. And same thing with family. Like if you're separated from your family, I think there's this balance between putting your time into old friends and making new friends and spending time with new friends. I think there's a nostalgia, there's a positive feeling about being with old friends. There's a trust. This friend that I spent a couple nights with in Atlanta, I mean, Don, that's a guy I trust him with anything. It's absolutely, 100%, the level of trust that you have with old friends is something really special. There's something really great about making new friends. I met Omar and K10 and Anwar back, and there's so many people in the Tesla community, Kat and Pierre and Landon, and so many people in Tesla Universe, Lisa. It's like an endless list. I could go on forever. So many people that have been great to talk to. Alexandra, I already mentioned in the chat. And when you talk to new friends, you get different perspectives and you learn different things. So there's so much there. So I just wanted to mention that. I want to dive in now. Just really quick, let's try to get to our regularly scheduled programming. First thing, obviously, we're all happy about this. Turning to Tesla, I know a lot of people are interested in Tesla. Let's talk about Tesla for a minute. The stock is up. This is a 1 month chart. So the stock is up 32% in the past month. The market cap is now back over 900 billion to 930 billion. And the PE ratio at 107. You guys know I'm an ultra bull. This is an absurdly low PE ratio for a company growing this fast. The PE ratio should be 200. The stock should be easily double what it is now. You guys know I'm a crazy bull. There's no reason the stock shouldn't be $1,800 a share, except that Wall Street doesn't get it. But you look at the insane growth rate and the fact that we're going from 1.5 factories to 4.5 factories in 1.5 factories in 2021. We're going to have 4.5 factories in 2023. Just crazy. So that's good news. And I wanted to mention, I heard, I'm going to call this insider news. Elon is working at Giga, Texas like crazy to get the Model Y ramp up. He is there at least 12 hours a day. I think he may have a cot that he sleeps on. He is highly motivated. They are working their butts off. They are approaching 1,000 cars a week in Giga, Texas. They're going to get to 2,500 cars a week. They're going to get to 5,000 cars a week. The goal, which they've mentioned before, is to get to 5,000 cars a week before the end of this year. And he's committed to getting that ramp going. Let's get Model Y produced. And I drove by Giga, Texas. When did I drive by Giga, Texas? A few days ago, I drove by Giga, Texas, and I saw the cars lined up outside. And I saw one in the wild. I think it's a manufacturer's vehicle owned by a Tesla employee. And the blue is just this really, really stunning blue. I thought it was a wrap, but that's actually the paint job on the car. So if you can order a Model Y from Giga, Texas in blue, that I don't know what the other colors are going to look like, but the blue, that looks pretty amazing. So I'm expecting, people concerned Elon's too distracted by Twitter. Elon's too distracted by having kids or whatever. He's not distracted. He's focused. He's working his butt off. If he's distracted by anything, he's distracted by SpaceX, and that's great. I'm a SpaceX fan. So really positive sign there that Elon's working hard. And it did have, what did I do with that tweet? There was a tweet. What did I do with it? There we go. Sorry. Just an update about FSD beta. I thought this tweet was kind of funny. That Starship, he's not sure that Starship will reach escape velocity. My hubris certainly has. That's funny. But he was asked about 10.13, and he said they're working super hard on 10.13, but it isn't ready yet. This is the version that's supposedly going to solve Chuck Cook's left turn. Huge fan of Chuck Cook. He said it's probably a week or so away. He says people outside of California will notice improvements the most. Okay. But 10.13, probably a week or so away. That was July 29th, 2 days ago. So somewhere in early August, maybe we'll see 10.13. I don't have FSD beta on my X. I have it on my 3. I don't drive my 3 very often. So I'm hoping to experience 10.13 soon. So that's important. What else did I leave out? Oh, I wanted to mention this. This is a SpaceX thing. Alex Tourville, my friend Alex, Clubhouse Twitter friend. Alex was talking about how Starlink, this is a thread from Alex Tourville and Elon. I don't have the Elon tweet as part of it, but Elon said this was a good thread. SpaceX is doing a bunch of things to protect astronomy from Starlink satellites interfering. So they developed a space-stable dielectric Bragg reflector film that reduces satellite visibility by an order of magnitude. That's 10x. So if the Starlink was this bright, it's 1/10 as bright after this film. And they're going to offer that at cost to anybody else who's launching satellites. They've also developed a low reflectivity black paint, 5 times less reflective than current darkest available space stable paint, to coat various reflective Starlink satellite components. So they're working on that. I forgot to put these in. And then, sorry. Special opaque coating for the backside of solar arrays and a special satellite maneuver called terminator tracking to mitigate reflectivity. SpaceX continues to work closely with the astronomy community to mitigate the effect of all satellite operations on their important work. SpaceX engineers will be presenting in person and answering questions on August 9th. So check out Alex. It's AJ Tourville on Twitter. Check out his tweet. Check out this link. SpaceX will be presenting their efforts to protect astronomy. This is important. I love astronomy. Astronomy is wonderful. So, what else do I want to do? All right, let me move on. I want to talk about what this video is about. So I covered Tesla. I covered SpaceX a little earlier than I intended. Well, let's talk about Neuralink and Alzheimer's. So this is just some image that I got off the internet, and I modified it a little bit to make it a little better viewing. As you can see, this is Elon with a chip being put in his brain. Not really what it's going to look like, but Elon did a tweet back in April. This is relevant to Alzheimer's and dementia. If you've engineered, he's trying to recruit for Neuralink. And somebody, Alex asked, Alex Thompson, I think, I lost a grandparent to Alzheimer's. How will Neuralink address the loss of memory in the human brain? This is one of the reasons I'm particularly excited about Neuralink, because my family has Alzheimer's in it. I may get Alzheimer's. My uncle, I just talked to my uncle today. He's my mother's brother. He's 89. He doesn't have Alzheimer's. He's still with it. So, maybe there's hope for me. Maybe it's only on the females. Sorry, females. But Elon responded, how will Neuralink address the loss of memory in the human brain? Elon responded, current generation Neuralinks can help to some degree, but an advanced case of Alzheimer's often involves a macro degeneration of the brain. Neuralinks should be theoretically be able to restore almost any functionality lost due to localized brain damage from stroke or injury. So I wanted to talk about this. This is what I think is, this is what, grabbed me, what I'm hopeful for about Neuralink, what I think matters. We all face this risk. A large share of people when they get elderly face Alzheimer's or dementia or something along those lines. So the initial target for Neuralink is not to cure Alzheimer's or dementia. The initial target is paralysis. I think there's some hope that they can help people with vision, loss of hearing, a variety of different things they think they can do. But, getting to memory is not an early stage Neuralink thing. So next 10 years, very unlikely that Neuralink will address this, even next 15 years. Directly. It's not directly going to cure or address Alzheimer's in any significant way, I don't think. And I think that's what Elon's saying here. But he also, notice he said current generation Neuralinks can help some degree. There's going to be future generation Neuralinks that may be able to do more. He has talked about how future generation Neuralinks will be much more extensive. And so that may help in certain ways. So I think the big thing that I see about Neuralink that will help with Alzheimer's before Neuralink can actually help with Alzheimer's is I am hopeful that Neuralink will help us understand how the brain works. That the brain works, we don't understand how the brain works. I've just saw somebody talking about this I don't know if it was on a YouTube video, that we really have no clue. And maybe it was somebody talking to me in a chat. We really don't have any clue how the brain works. And somebody said this to me. I think this was a surgeon. He said that the one part of the medical profession that understands the brain best that isn't neurology is anesthesiologists, is they can shut it off. They can turn off your brain to some extent, right? And they can turn it back on. But beyond that, we just don't really understand a lot of how the brain works. And until we fully understand how the brain works, we're not really going to be able to solve all the brain problems. And I believe, and I don't have a lot of neurology knowledge, but I believe that with what Neuralink's going to do, implanting electrodes in the brain and following the signals from the brain, that over time Neuralink will help us just understand the brain better. And if we can understand the brain better, that will potentially help us figure out what's going on, because we don't understand Alzheimer's. We don't know what's going wrong. I actually think when we talk about artificial intelligence or artificial general intelligence, when you hear people in the field talking about achieving human level intelligence, we don't really understand what human level intelligence is. And there's so many reasons we don't understand it, but it may be that getting Neuralinks in brains and tracking what they're doing, that we may get a much better understanding of how brains work. And it probably, maybe the first generation won't be that helpful. I mean, they've already got first generation Neuralinks in pigs and monkeys. So maybe we're learning from that. But once we get, and I just feel like the thing that we miss when we studied how the brain works is we should be studying more how the brain doesn't work. When the brain fails, we should have a better understanding of how the brain fails. Are these new glasses? No, these aren't new glasses, but I'll take them off if that makes you feel better. You notice that people like, oh, you need rest. No, I just have bags under my eyes. So who said that? John Bay. They're not new glasses. Those are the same glasses I've been wearing for a while. So can Neuralink help us understand the brain, understand what the brain is doing? Because it's a combination of electricity and chemistry, and Neuralink does not address the chemistry. It addresses the electrical signals, but maybe, just maybe, as we push Neuralink and we develop it more, we're working with people, when we go from 1 test patient to 10 test patients to 100 test patients to it being in 1,000 people or 10,000 people, we're going to have a lot more data. And hopefully we'll be able to understand that data better. So that's my big hope for Neuralink. I'm very hopeful that we're going to get something. A better understanding of the brain will help us to figure out what's going wrong in the brain when these things happen. Because with Alzheimer's, so there's a theory that it's plaques. There's a theory that it's proteins. That there's this, I think it's called a tau protein. And they're doing experimental trials, and we talked about putting my mother into experimental trials, and honestly, we didn't think that the experimental trials were going to help her, and we didn't want to make her a guinea pig, and she didn't want to be a guinea pig, so we didn't go down that route. And the thing is, you tell, and my mother had been taking Aricept, and that may have contributed to, she fell and broke her collarbone, and the thinking was that the Aricept may have caused her to fall, so they took her off Aricept, they put her on galantamine, they put her on Namenda. And my personal opinion is these drugs did nothing for my mother. They probably made her overall worse. They caused other issues. And the doctors will push you to take these drugs, and they may work for some people. I don't think there's a lot of evidence that they're very effective. And then when you decide, this isn't really working, you want to take your parent off these drugs, it's hard to get the doctors to take them off the drugs. The neurologist didn't want to take her off the drugs, and I had to persuade him to take her off the drugs. There's a protocol from Australia or New Zealand about when to deprescribe the Alzheimer's drugs, the dementia drugs, and he didn't want to follow it. I was like, look, this is it. She's been on this for a year. It's not getting better. She's getting worse anyway. Let's take her off these drugs. And there's this concept, for people who don't know this, there's a concept called polypharmacy. So when I first started really getting involved in my mother's medical care, as opposed to, I've been managing my mother's finances for 25 years, and I made her a millionaire, thanks in large part to Tesla, but I invested well for her for years. But my mother's medical care, she was taking all these pills. And I started to say, wait, why is she taking this? Why is she taking this? And I was able to get down to just a few pills. And you're going to see a lot of seniors are just taking a lot of pills. And I'm not convinced that all these pills, if they're necessary, they're necessary. But if you can minimize the number of pills they're taking, because there's so many potential interactions that are not well understood. So much money, the Alzheimer's drugs could get really expensive. And, you go to an old person and say, hey, take this magic pill. It's going to help with your memory. They all want it. That doesn't mean it works. So that's a little bit of a frustration. All right, let me move on. So those are my thoughts about Neuralink and Alzheimer's and how Neuralink is going to help in the future. I think when you go, not this generation of Neuralink, and probably not the next generation of Neuralink, but 2 generations down the road. So let's say we're talking 6 years from now, 10 years from now, 10 years from now. Hopefully that's going to help us get a much better understanding of the brain. And maybe it gets us to the point where we're able to figure out, okay, what's going on here? Can we stimulate this neuron? Can we read this neuron better? Maybe the neurons are firing quietly and we can read the neurons more quiet, the quieter neurons. I'm just guessing that maybe some of the neurons are still signaling, but their signal is weakened, so the other neurons don't hear them. And maybe having Neuralink in there, it'll be able to pick up weak signals from neurons. Maybe it'll be able to help convey signals better to those neurons. I think there's a lot of possibilities, and I'm hopeful that 10 years maybe we'll see some progress. 20 years, I got a stake in this. 20 years, I want to see a lot more progress. And then there's the big idea, the 6th generation Neuralink is able to upload your consciousness to the cloud and download your consciousness to a Tesla bot and replicate it. So there's 2 of you, there's 3 of you, there's 4 of you, or 10 of you, or 1,000 of you. Who knows where science fiction goes? If you haven't read it yet, read the Culture series by Ian Banks, IAIN, Ian Banks. There's a thing in the Culture series called Neural Lace, which I'm pretty sure is Elon's inspiration for Neuralink. Elon has said this is his favorite science fiction novel series. So check out, if you haven't read it yet, read the Culture series, Player of Games, trying to remember, Consider Phlebas. There's some really interesting stories, but Neural Lace is in there, and artificial intelligence is in there. Space travel's in there. It's a lot of great stuff. So, all right, let me move on to, and I got to put this back on. I do a Q&A, and I take questions from supporters on the Daily Lie and Patreon and YouTube community channel members first. So Chokonen, I believe Chokonen either lives or has lived in Japan, said, starting to really think at your point that about my theory about a factory in Japan is a real possibility. Proximity to the Panasonic battery factory, which is Wakayama, Japan, outside of Osaka. Also, the people will be out of work as the Japanese manufacturers go under. There's a lot of hardworking, talented, innovative engineers in Japan. And if some of the Japanese companies fail, it would be nice to have Tesla there to pick up those workers and help with the engineering and so on. He says, I'm not sure they would go as far as making a K truck or car. K means light. That's a reference to smaller size, very small size trucks and cars. Smaller than we typically see in the US market. But you've lived here and you know smaller vehicles sell. So he thinks making something smaller than a Model 3 would be necessary. I think that Model 3 and Model Y would sell in Japan. I think you're right that Japanese have a preference for smaller vehicles. Yeah, but would a 4680 vehicle, do Japanese vehicles need the range? I'm not sure. I don't think we're going to see Cybertrucks in Japan. I do think that, a hatchback version of the Model 3, a shortened Model 3, or, I think there's potential for them to do something interesting. For those who don't know, Japan is the world's 3rd largest car market. You've got China, the United States, and Japan, with Germany number 4. If you take North America as a car market and Europe as a car market, then Japan is number 4 behind Europe. South Korea, I think, is also going to get a Gigafactory. South Korea is the next largest car market after Germany. So I think there's a lot of potential. And they're building a 4680 cell factory in South Korea. They're building a 4680 cell factory in Wakayama, Japan. I made a video about that recently. Charlie, thank you, Charlie. Charlie, this is typical of the type of message that I get from people. Accept my condolences to passing your mother. Glad you're on. It's a real gift. Peace to you and your family. Thank you, Charlie, for your support on the Daily Line, for your kind words. Let me move on. Patreon. Only one comment from a Patreon supporter. David says, sorry to hear about the loss of your mother. He's heard me talk about her many times. Hope that Neuralink can help with these types of issues, among other promising potential treatments. Asks if I can elaborate on any concerns I might have with Neuralink, even if it does become successful in treating those with neurological and paralysis afflictions. I think the primary concern is, will it be safe? How will it interact in the environment of the brain? That's a big challenge. Siobhan Zillis, if you check my channel, Siobhan Zillis, who is now more famous for having two of Elon's children, but in reality should be more famous for her work for Neuralink. If you check out my video, go search my channel for Siobhan, Shivon. She talked about some of the challenges with Neuralink, and that so far what they're doing is well tolerated in the brains of the animals that they're putting them in. That they're working to minimize immune response and other things that can go wrong. I suppose the concern you could have is there some loss of privacy if Neuralink is tapping into your brain and the Neuralink software knows what you're thinking or knows what's been put into your brain? I think there's a lot of potential concerns. Elon has just said there'll be an off switch. If you don't like what Neuralink is doing, you'll be able to turn it off. But kind of like saying, well, if you don't like what's going on in your phone, you can stop using your phone. But once you get used to using your phone, you can't stop. So I think there's some potential issues there. I think the harsh reality is there's some things it's just not going to work for. I suppose there will be cases where it makes something worse. I mean, I think there's a concern about some kind of feedback loop where it just gets more intense and more intense and more intense. And I think there's hopes that, like with epilepsy, that Neuralink will be able to detect a seizure and calm it down, but maybe that won't work. Maybe it'll induce seizures in some patients. There's a lot of risks when you're doing something, when you're tinkering around with the brain, the human body in general, there's a lot of risks. So I think the potential to cause problems in the brain because it sends in the wrong signals or it sends the signals in the wrong way is one concern, the privacy concern, and risk of infection, risk of immune response, that sort of thing. Okay, then from the YouTube channel members, I had one comment from Alfredo. Just really, again, this is the example of the kind words I get from people. You feel different when your mother dies. You'll become even stronger. So it goes. Take care. I genuinely enjoy every one of your videos. Never stop. Thank you, Alfredo, for your support and for your kind words. I will say this. So it's rough losing my mother. It's rough losing my brother. I just got divorced. For those who didn't know that, I just got divorced. So all of these things are stressful and hard. But in another sense, I'm free. I'm free to pursue the things I want to pursue. For those who follow me, I'm free to try to be less wrong. The t-shirts at elonbits.com. I'm not wearing the Let's Make Babies t-shirt, but the Let's Make Babies t-shirt, that's at elonbits.com. I'm trying to find somebody to have kids with, or maybe I'll just hire a surrogate and have kids on my own. I was planning to rent office space near Canaveral and, work late hours, still technically live in Boca Raton, but, spend a few nights, working late and sleeping on the couch there. And I think I've changed my mind and I've decided I'm actually going to rent a real living space. I was looking online at, what I might be able to rent. So I'm probably going to be living near Canaveral starting middle of August. And I'm going to have, a 1 or 2 bedroom house, maybe with a garage or a townhome or something like that. And I'm going to start pursuing my dreams. I want the garage. I want to tinker. I'm going to start the damn pod car. It's going to happen. I'm just like, my mother was, I don't want to say my mother was a burden, but I was spending a fair amount of time visiting my mother. Twice a week, 3-hour drive up, 3-hour drive back, might spend a half hour with her there. I would make something else out of the trip. And I stayed in my apocalypse cabin, which is much closer, and visited her 2 or 3 times a week. It's actually one of the weirdly fortunate things is, in the last month or so, I've been spending more time near where my mother was living. Was living in an assisted living facility, and I was spending more time visiting her just because I happened to be closer. So it's kind of nice that I got to see my mom a little bit more right before she passed. But I'm now more free to pursue some of the things I want to pursue, particularly the pod car. I've been thinking a lot about, if you guys follow my channel, the solar farm apartments idea. I can't get that one out of my head. But pod cars first. I'm working to see if I can get what I need to get started. Kind of one of the reasons I want to have a real living space is I want to have a garage so that I can have the pod car prototype and build it in the garage, which will probably be hot. I have to figure out how to, maybe I could take the Model X and get the air conditioning in the Model X to cool the garage or something like that. We'll have to figure that one out. But I'm gonna make that happen. I'm still trying to find a woman. Good conversations in the last couple of days. We'll see. Nothing close, chase down a woman or chase down a surrogate or something like that. But trying to pursue the things I want to pursue. I feel like, I'll say this is, at the age of 56, looking towards the future and having seen my brother pass and my mother pass and my father's long gone and my oldest brother's long gone and we've lost other people. We got a limited amount of time on this earth. Do something with it. And I'm taking that to myself. I got 20 good years left. Maybe 25 good years left. Neuralink comes along and helps. If I went to the gym this morning, exercise bike, strength training, shoulder presses, curls, I'm getting her done. I actually mostly did core exercises, trying to keep my core in shape. A lot of sit-ups and back exercises and side exercises and all that, torso exercises. But what am I going to do in the next 20 years? Now, a lot of people my age are thinking, how are they going to coast down the hill? Right? I don't know if I've talked about this on the channel. I have this metaphor that we all start at sea level. And so we crawl out of the ocean, and we start at sea level. And some of us walk not very far above sea level. Some people hike up hills. Some people climb mountains. Elon has climbed more mountains than anyone. In this metaphorical situation, Elon has climbed more mountains than anyone else. And he's still climbing them at the age of 50 or 51 or however old he is. A lot of people my age get to this age and they're like, okay, they're ready to coast down the hill. The end is always getting back to sea level and going back in the ocean in this metaphor. And you can get to a certain point where, like, I've climbed enough mountains. I want to coast down the hill now. I don't want to coast down any damn hills. I want to climb more mountains. I want to have more kids. I want to build businesses. I want to get shit done. And I tried playing golf, and I love golf. I tried playing golf 3 times a week. Apparently, I don't like golf as much as I thought because I started finding other things to do. I like walking on a beach, but I don't watch TV anymore. I don't want to know what's on Netflix or what's on Amazon Prime. I don't feel that that's productive. I watch YouTube. I watch YouTube videos about Tesla. I watch YouTube videos about SpaceX, and I do still watch a little bit of basketball. I'm a basketball addict. I still think I'm pretty good at it at 56. I can take you. You, right there, you. I'm talking to you. I can take you on the court. Alvy, I can take you. But I feel like those things are distractions from getting things done. And, it's nice to have occasional distractions, but let's get shit done. Elon is, we all love Elon, and Elon is showing us the way, and the way is just keep climbing mountains, keep taking on challenges, keep seeing you can do whatever you think you can do more. We can always do more. We're always wrong. We can always be less wrong. We can always do more. I feel like I was gifted in many ways with, parents who gave a crap about me and a brother who gave a crap about me, great friends. I've been given a lot. And what am I going to do with this? Am I just going to coast down a hill, or am I going to climb more mountains? Am I going to try to make the world a better place? And I think we all have that opportunity. Maybe it's starting up a company, and maybe it's taking the money you've made from your success with Tesla and finding startups that you believe in and investing in those startups. Maybe it's in your community. I just really believe, for me, it's what can I do to start, because I'm entrepreneurial. I want to try to start some shit. So I'm gonna get something done, and I'm still motivated. We'll see if I can do it. All right, let me go to the chat. I've been ignoring the chat for too long. Let's see. Golf is better with hockey sticks, Mark? Okay. Do you feel like you're just not going fast enough? I feel like I haven't been going fast enough recently, but a lot of that has been I've been slowed down by my brother's death and my mother's taking care of my mother, and I'm getting through a couple other things in my personal life, finishing up some things from the divorce, and I'm really about to get to that point where, like, I felt like this when I was living in the condo. I had a lot of free time and I could commit to it. I'm going to put my time into what I want to get done. And that's actually one of the downsides of women, right? Elon's comment on this. For some reason, they want to spend time with us. It's really annoying. I feel like on these dating apps, a lot of women, like, they want you to entertain them. Like, entertain yourself. I'm busy. Let's spend some quality time together. But otherwise, let's get some shit done. Spent too much time on subs, so became a pilot to compensate. Interesting, Jim. Jim is a guy who gets shit done. Jim Manley in the chat. Model X has heat exchanger. Will add as much heat. No, you put the Model X outside the garage, and you put a duct or something to duct the cool air from the Model X into the garage while the Model X is outside the garage. That's the idea. Let's see. I'm just looking in the chat here. Yes, you'll be able to monitor your brain through an app on your phone. Yeah, that would be interesting. If you have questions or thoughts or comments, please put them in the chat. M&M's cure everything. Japan would use JFP cell in Tesla. Maybe you mean LFP? I don't know. They're making 4680s. Pharma is 5% science, 50% advertising, and 45% fraud. I think it's more fraud than that. I think it's 2% science, 75% fraud. I don't know. Do I have Starlink working? So I had Starlink working at the Apocalypse Cabin, but I'm no longer at the Apocalypse Cabin. I don't expect to be back at the Apocalypse Cabin anytime soon. I might weekend there occasionally. When I took the Starlink down, I think I didn't stow it properly, and I'm not sure I can get it started again. I have to figure that out. I don't expect to use it in the short term. When I get home in Canaveral, I expect to fire up Starlink for that. Played an amateur arena soccer league in Japan, Mark? That's really cool. All right, so I guess we're 42 minutes in. I'm just looking to see if there's put an arbor over your garage to shade it and cool it with the right plants. Could be colorful flowers, interesting. Critical to insulate the garage door, especially if it's metal, and prevent air leakage around the edges. Yeah, that makes sense. We'll see. Most likely I'm just going to get hot and drink a lot of water while I do whatever I'm doing in the garage. We'll see. Maybe I'll do it in a backyard or something. I'm thinking I want to rent a house instead of rent a townhome or something. Can Neuralink help with anxiety? I definitely think Neuralink will be able to help with anxiety at some point. I don't think anxiety is going to be an early thing that Neuralink will treat. I know that Siobhan talked about Neuralink helping people sleep. Philip says house with garage is a good idea, but why not buy instead of rent? So in the fall of next year, we sell the marital home and I'll be getting a pile of money. And I want to use that to buy the house. And I think there's something about if you buy a home after you sell a home, and we have some significant appreciation in the house. We paid $465 for it, and we're going to sell it for like $1.3 million if the market holds up. So there'll be significant capital gain. But if you put that capital gain into a new house, you don't pay capital gains tax on it. So anxiety is caused by existential doubt. I think anxiety is caused by a lot of different things. So. All right. Anyway, all right. I don't see a lot else in the chat. So, and this is not going to be the full length hour-long live stream. I think people can appreciate. I've been through a lot in the last few days, and I'm going to wrap it up. And I want to thank everyone for watching. I thank everyone for your support. Please consider supporting this channel on the Locals platform, Patreon, YouTube channel member. Links to all that in the description below. Check out the t-shirts at elonbits.com. Check out my recent video about Boring Company and SpaceX and Project Echo and all the other videos. Thank you so much for watching.